10 business fails that built Rihanna's empire. What if I told you that one of the most successful women in entertainment, valued at over $1,400,000,000, built her empire not just on her wins, but on her most public, painful failures? Yup. Rihanna, the global music icon, fashion mogul, and beauty tycoon, didn't just glide to the top. She tripped, stumbled, and sometimes completely face-planted. And yet, each failure became a stepping stone, fueling a brand that's now dominating industries from skincare to luxury fashion. In a world where success is often filtered and glamorized, Rihanna's journey reminds us that missteps are not the opposite of success. They're part of the process. So today, we're breaking down the top 10 business fails that built Rihanna's billion-dollar empire. And trust me, some of these might surprise you. Styled to Rock. Rihanna tried her hand at television with Styled to Rock, a fashion competition series that promised to revolutionize how we discover new design talent. It had all the ingredients of success: edgy aesthetics, celebrity mentors, and Rihanna's signature style, but when it aired in the US, it flopped hard. The ratings were dismal, the buzz died out almost instantly, and the show was pulled after just one season. Why? Some blamed poor promotion, others said it felt too similar to existing shows like Project Runway. But here's the thing, Rihanna didn't sulk, she took notes. She realized that her brand wasn't just about slapping her name on content, it was about owning the narrative, the production, and the entire vibe. This failure planted the seeds for her later ventures, where she had full creative control. River Island collaboration. When Rihanna partnered with River Island in 2013, fans expected bold fashion statements. Instead, they got a lukewarm collection that felt more like a high school sewing project than the vision of a trend-setting icon. Critics were brutal. Terms like uninspired, ill-fitting, and overpriced got thrown around like confetti. But Rihanna didn't deny the critiques, she absorbed them. She learned that having style and designing for mass production are two very different beasts. This humbling moment reshaped her understanding of fashion from the inside out. Later, when launching Fenty with LVMH, she made sure the quality, vision, and user experience were on point. She understood now that inclusivity, innovation, and authenticity mattered far more than slapping her logo on a crop top. Rebel Fleur perfume series. When Rihanna dropped her first fragrance, Rebel Fleur, it was supposed to be a love letter to her roots and identity. While it did decent numbers initially, it quickly fell into the abyss of forgettable celebrity perfumes. Oversaturation in the fragrance market, cheap packaging, and a formula that didn't really stand out all contributed to its underwhelming staying power. But here's where the brilliance kicks in. Rihanna didn't abandon the fragrance game, she studied it. She learned how sensory branding works, how packaging can make or break a product, and how exclusivity creates demand. Later on, when she launched Fenty Eau de Parfum, it sold out in literal hours and had a waiting list months long. Puma creepers and the overhype trap. When Rihanna became the creative director at Puma, things took off fast, too fast. Her creepers sneaker line sold out in minutes and the internet exploded. But success can sometimes be its own worst enemy. The hype created a level of scarcity that alienated many fans, and resellers turned the shoes into luxury perched trophies. Puma struggled to balance exclusivity with accessibility, and Rihanna was stuck in the middle. This experience taught her a critical lesson in brand psychology: never let hype outpace loyalty. She realized that real brand equity isn't built on flash drops, it's built on consistency, trust, and quality. Fenty X LVMH fashion line. Let's be clear, Rihanna made history with this one. She became the first woman of color to head a luxury fashion house under LVMH. But despite the groundbreaking milestone, the line was short-lived. Just 2 years in, the project was paused indefinitely. Critics and fans alike struggled with the high price points, unconventional designs, and limited visibility in retail stores. But rather than spin this as a loss, Rihanna treated it like an MBA crash course in luxury fashion. She saw firsthand how the traditional luxury market resists change, and that revolutionizing it takes more than star power, it takes infrastructure, legacy, and timing. Samsung anti-iPhone campaign. In 2015, Rihanna teamed up with Samsung for a multi-million-dollar campaign promoting the Galaxy Note. The partnership included exclusive content and a behind-the-scenes look at her anti-album rollout. But here's the kicker: most of her fan base? iPhone users. The campaign felt forced, the execution was clunky, and Rihanna's social media subtly favored Apple devices anyway. The entire thing became a confusing mess of mixed signals. While not a disaster financially, it was a brand misalignment that taught her something valuable: authenticity matters more than a paycheck. From that point on, Rihanna became much more selective about endorsements, sticking to brands and projects that matched her vibe, values, and audience. It's a classic example of how saying no can be more powerful than any yes. 777 Tour Chaos. In what was supposed to be a revolutionary fan experience, Rihanna launched the 777 Tour. 7 countries, 7 days, 7 shows. Sounds cool, right? Except it was a logistical nightmare. The plane full of journalists and fans turned into a pressure cooker of sleep deprivation, delays, and confusion. Performances were late, morale was low, and the media coverage went from excited to exhausted overnight. It could have been a PR disaster, but Rihanna leaned into the chaos. She saw firsthand how important structure, pacing, and planning are, even in the most spontaneous of campaigns. This behind-scenes breakdown shaped how she later managed her product rollouts. Everything had to be smooth, scalable, and fan-first. Delayed album releases and fan backlash. For years, fans begged Rihanna for a new album. Memes flooded Twitter. "Where's R9?" became a pop culture punchline. At one point, she even joked about it herself. But behind the laughter was a business strategy. Rihanna was no longer just an artist, she was a CEO. Her delayed albums weren't about neglect, they were about prioritizing the long game. Still, the backlash was real and the pressure intense. This period taught Rihanna how to manage expectations, balance multiple ventures, and protect her creativity from burnout. She learned that silence, when done right, can build mystique, and more importantly, she proved that her empire didn't depend on music anymore. It was just one part of a much bigger machine. Over-reliance on celebrity hype. Early on, Rihanna's teams leaned heavily into the celebrity factor. If Rihanna's face was on it, they assumed it would sell. But that didn't always pan out. Consumers are smarter now. They want value, story, and experience, not just a famous name. Products like early Fenty Beauty prototypes were tested and retested before launch, because Rihanna knew she had to earn the consumer's trust, not just expect it. This shift in mindset, from celebrity branding to consumer-first strategy, was pivotal. It's the reason why Fenty Beauty's foundation line launched with 40 shades, a move that literally changed the beauty industry overnight. Navigating the Savage x Fenty controversies. Despite its massive success, Savage x Fenty hasn't been without criticism. From accusations of cultural appropriation to questions about labor practices and sustainability, Rihanna faced real heat. But here's the difference. She responded, she apologized, adjusted, and improved. That's rare in celebrity-led brands. Most deflect or disappear. Rihanna understood that accountability is now part of brand identity. She didn't just survive the backlash, she evolved from it. Today, Savage x Fenty stands as one of the most inclusive, forward-thinking lingerie brands in the market. And that's not because it avoided controversy. It's because it adapted in the face of it. If you found this deep dive inspiring or eye-opening, hit that like button to support the channel. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about how the world's biggest brands and icons turned their failures into fortune.